All right, let's get into Patrick's Day, another upbeat, positive movie.
It is another upbeat, positive movie.
So both very positive movies. So first, let's kind of get into that. So there does seem to be kind of a very seriousness to your writing in the films that you make. Why is that?
Well, the bizarre thing is, for me, Charlie Casanova is an acerbic satire in the extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And I find aspects of Charlie Casanova stomach-churningly comical.
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to make an audience laugh, and then for the laugh to be cut off in their throat halfway before it leaves the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Where they realize, Jesus, am I laughing at this? I love that kind of laughter. In terms of Patrick's Day is a love story.
Mm.
And it's a love story about how courageous we can be despite the fact that there's an entire system out there that is repressing us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that lead to very painful scenes in the film? Yes, it does. But surely any love worth pursuing is going to create inevitable pain.
Mm-hmm.
But there is of sorts, that may or may not be a real happy ending to that film.
Okay.
And it's driven by emotion. It's the antithesis of Charlie Casanova, which is a liar constructing a fallacy to pretend he's human. This is a human being who has a fallacy constructed for him to destroy him of his innate capacity to love.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a deeply positive human love story.
So, okay, all right. In that one, I kind of want to get into, how you work with actors and stuff, because both films, I think, have great performances. And Mo from Patrick's Day has a few scenes in there where he's just brilliant performances. How do you work with your actors to kind of pull that out? I know a lot of kind of indie and small films, they don't, directors often don't know how to work with an actor to get a performance out, and it's just kind of they expect, you show up, okay, I want you to be happy here, or, I want you to act like so-and-so from such and such movie, and go. And I don't think that really works too well, and I'm curious what your process is when working with actors and how to get a performance out of them.
Well, there's a couple of small things that, in terms of our culture of teaching, we spend vast amounts of money and time in teaching directors about structure and form and cameras and lighting and all the elements except acting, which defies comprehension, because an audience responds to the psychological and emotional truth of a human being in front of the lens of a camera. And to underestimate or undervalue the actor's contribution is not just absurd, but damaging to your film. I'm lucky enough in that I adore actors. I think actors are the most remarkably courageous and generous society I've ever encountered. This notion that actors are prima donnas and behave like a bunch of nonsense is completely untrue. There are tiny, tiny exceptions to that, and they're invariably talentless morons. But the ones who are courageous in that way that I describe, all they want to do is capture a moment of truth in front of the lens of a camera. That's all they want to do. And they put their soul on the line for that. And your responsibility as a director is to protect that soul and to make sure that you create an environment, only an environment, where they're allowed to jump off that cliff and succeed or possibly fail and know that either way you're going to catch them. And either way that you're going to hone their desire for truth. And to do that, you need to allow an actor to understand that not only do you love them, but you're going to protect them to the death. And you put them in that environment where you give them a very simple objective. An objective is something that they want. And they may not even necessarily know yet, but it's something they're willing to live or die by. And once you give an actor a want, and once you put them into a position where there are obstacles stopping them getting what they want, then you just stand back and watch how they're going to address those obstacles. And all you're looking for is a moment of discoverable truth on camera that is as fresh and raw for them as it is for an audience. And then you give it to an editor, and the editor, because they're brilliant, will see that moment and put it into a film. And that's the moment an audience is going to respond to long after the film is over.
Do you know what that moment is going into the scene?
Well, there's two schools of thought. One of them is that you storyboard everything and you make sure that the film that you had in your head 6 months ago while you were masturbating alone in your little dark room is somehow the film that you need to have replicated on the set. I think that's obscene and ridiculously one-dimensionally self-indulgent. I find it far more exciting to understand that everything is in motion, structure and form is in motion. Now you're in the realm of reality. And what can the actors bring to that? What can the cinematographer bring to that? What can everybody in the room bring to that that elevates it beyond the limitations of what your imagination was in the first place? Because the structure and form is already strong enough to withhold it. Why not have the courage to see what they're going to bring to it?
What about like, for you, it sounds like that works, but I think there are other directors that do more or less bring what they've envisioned, they film it on the day, and then go and they can make brilliant films. Like Hitchcock, for example, he's really well known for that.
Hitchcock?
Yeah.
What's your favorite Hitchcock film?
Let's say Birds, for example.
Okay, who's in Birds?
The blonde chick. What's her name? Tippi Hedren.
Tippi Hedren. Mm-hmm. What do you remember about Birds?
I remember scenes.
What scene do you remember?
Well, like the scene in the room that she goes into. There's the birds in the room, and I know in that scene it's well known because she was not told about the birds being in the room.
So what do you remember?
But just in general, I'm just saying like.
But what do you remember about her walking into the room?
The fear of it.
Her reaction.
Right. Mm-hmm.
No matter what Hitchcock may or may not have done, and Hitchcock is a giant, a master.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying.
But no matter what he did or did not do, we are responding to the psychological and emotional impetus of that human being. Mm-hmm. You show an empty room that is suddenly populated by birds with no human reaction, we don't give a fuck. It's an aviary. Mm-hmm. You show that psychological and emotional reaction, we are suddenly immersed. Okay. And Hitchcock himself, despite this notion that actors are props and you need to make sure they don't bump into the furniture, which was a total fallacy, his relationship with actors was one of total empowerment. And some of the greatest performances of many of these actors' careers are in Hitchcock movies because he created an environment where they were allowed to stretch and push and find that place of discoverable moments in front of a lens.
Okay.
I don't think you have to be despotic or didactic in the sense where you go, this is how it has to be because it's my vision. I think not only is that damaging and masturbatory, but in fact an audience sniffs it a mile away. Yeah. And there are a small group of audiences who go, oh, isn't it wonderful that this director has his or her vision and they stick to that vision and nothing else. That's not a human engagement.
Yeah. Do you feel, are you the same way when it comes to scripts, dialogue and stuff like that? I'm assuming, based on what you've been saying, as long as they get the point across that it doesn't necessarily have to be word for word.
No, I'm fascistic in terms of text because it's written that way for a specific reason. Now, maybe the next film I make, I might be a bit looser on it, but in the two films, I wrote every line of dialogue.
Interesting.
Not because I want to protect that dialogue, but because that dialogue has function and form. People speak for two reasons, to either lie or to tell the truth. And both those reasons are for the same pursuit, which is to get what they want. So if I'm lying to you or if I'm telling the truth, it's both to try and change you to get you to be what I need you to be. That dialogue to me is very important. But in terms of performance, you can't alter a performance. We can have the same line of dialogue. I can say to you, I love you in a myriad of different ways to try and evoke a myriad of different responses in you. Based on what I'm trying to get from you, that's what an audience becomes immersed in. And it's the same thing, it's not just with actors, it's not just with text, it's not just with structure and form, it's with cinematography, it's with sound, it's with anything. It's with set direction. Art direction is where you go, okay, what can we do to this to elevate the audience experience to such a degree where they are subconsciously absorbing the kind of stimuli we need them to feel in order for them to reach forward and want to know more.
Interesting. In the writing process then, when you sit down and write, first of all, do you enjoy the writing process?
I fucking hate it.
Okay. So how do you motivate yourself to write then if you hate writing?
Usually because I have to get a check.
Okay. Is that, yeah?
Yeah.
Why don't you direct stuff that other people wrote then?
I would.
Yeah?
There's 4 projects I've fallen asunder in the last year that I was attached to as director.
Okay.
And if they fell apart because of me as a director, I'd happily accept responsibility for it. But unfortunately, it was nothing to do with me.
Okay.
The people involved, the financials, all that realities either sometimes fall asunder or sometimes become problematic. I'd happily direct other people's material.
Okay.
But again, that simple thing, when I say I hate writing, I'm being slightly facetious. There is nothing more remarkable than a moment that happens on the page that you go, Christ. That's as exciting for me as that discoverable moment for an actor or for an audience. Yeah. But in terms of writing, writing is tough, difficult, hard, lonely. And because we exist in a culture where script editors are elevated to the realm of being artists, we very often have a bunch of moronic failed writers who are called script editors who are producing the kind of rot that is derivative, imitative, and banal beyond belief. And they become the decision makers. So the kind of stuff and material that I want to write may not be for everybody, but fuck it, I want to do it.
Okay, yeah. Well, obviously that works. I mean, you've had 2 films made. How did you find producers and Charlie Casanova, you mentioned you showed it at South by Southwest and it got picked up by a distributor. Was it similar with Patrick Stay? or did you already have production company and distribution lined up?
No, on Charlie Casanova, there was a producer involved, but he kind of lost his way, and then I ended up having to take over production. On Patrick's Day, we had a great old school producer, Tim Palmer.
Okay.
He produced a bunch of wonderful Irish films, and we had co-producer Rachel Lysett, a wonderful woman. So the combination of the two of them, they made all the things happen that would have been usually impossible in my life. They did it for a certain budget, and they did it in a way that protected the heart of the film. We shot it in a short time frame, a relatively short time frame, but outside that, there were almost no limitations. They were very excited by the work that we were doing on set. We had John Burns, our first AD, and he was kind of shocked because he had to change how he would normally approach it as a first AD, because sometimes they were taking longer than we were supposed to, but what we were capturing was so exciting that he decided to protect that and see how it would unfold. As a result, we had an extraordinary sense on set of maybe something special happening, particularly with Mo Dunford, Catherine Walker, Kerry Fox, and Philip Jackson. Those four central performances, and then Aaron Monaghan, where you're watching these actors do stuff that the greatest compliment a crew can pay a film is on the second or third day, instead of eating the burger, they stop halfway and they're watching what's happening. And then they turn to each other and they go, Jesus, this might be interesting.
Nice.
And we were lucky we had that experience.